Hey everybody, I'm Chrissy. I'm the Early Childhood and Primary Editor for Shine, and I wanted to talk to you today about classroom management, especially classroom management when telling Bible stories. Now, since you're watching this means you're probably a teacher, and so you've already been doing some of this. And so you already know that it can be very challenging to tell stories to a group of children. And this is especially true in Sunday school because they're only coming once a week. It's for a short period of time. If you have a large group, they're not wanting to all sit at the same time in the same place where you want them to. So I have a couple of ideas for you just to hopefully get you thinking about some things that might work for you. The first thing I always do when I'm leading a group is I choose a seat for them. So I always like to sit on the floor and have the children in a semicircle out in front of me. And I always make sure that each child has a place. So that could be something as simple as putting a little X on the floor with using masking tape, or a different kind of sticker for each child, or a little carpet square. Anything that will say to a child, this is your place, and no one else comes in your place. Nobody else touches you when you're in your place. So that rather than saying all the time, everybody back up, that you're saying something really specific. Kyla, move back to your place. So that's where you need to go, and that you as a teacher also have a place. I also try to make sure to set expectations ahead of time for how it's going to go. So, for instance, when I'm using certain kinds of props, I might say, it's my turn to use these props. It's my turn to be the one to speak, and you will get a chance to use these later. I like to have them out for children to use during explore time after the story is told. But for now, it's my turn to get to talk, and you will get a chance to talk when the story is finished. Now, as I'm telling a story, when I first started teaching, I would look at the children because I thought, eye contact is a good thing, right? Like I'm trying to get them involved in the story. But what I found by doing that is that the children are then engaging with me rather than engaging with the story. And what I really want them to be doing is focusing on the story. So now when I'm telling a story, I look at the props. I look at the setting that's down on the floor in front of me where I'm, moving things around. And that often I found, that for a lot of children, their eyes will naturally go to that place too then, because I'm not looking at them. I'm not talking with them. I'm looking at that and telling a story. Now, obviously, if children are fighting or if somebody has wandered away, you have to attend to that. But for the most part, unless there's something that you hear that's really problematic in terms of safety, something like that, or that's really, really disrupting the story, I try to tune that stuff out and really use my own body language, my own focus to demonstrate to children, this is how I want you to be. I want you to be looking at these props. And you do that by modeling, not by saying, look at this, because I think that's what we tend to do, is to want to instruct rather than to demonstrate, this is how I want you to be. Your tone of voice can help too if children are getting a little bit loud or distracted, that I often will lower my voice rather than raise my voice. But I found that by, if I move more toward a whisper, that children are kind of curious about why I'm getting quiet versus if I'm, sort of raising my voice at them to try to get their attention and make them come back to me. I also, in trying to sort of set things up, try to do them the same each week, whether the intro is the same, that the expectations are named in the same way, and that kind of cues children that this is the way that we sit, this is the way we listen, this is the way we look when we're doing a Bible story. Now, finally, I will say that the reality is that it just doesn't go well sometimes. And anybody who's taught for any length of time knows that some days are just terrible, or they're bad, or they're not great. So don't be discouraged by that. That's part of being a teacher for young children, because sometimes their emotional life, what they're bringing into the classroom is just bigger than their ability to sit and listen and focus. And I will also say, though, that when I was teaching, I had a child who was very difficult in the group and was moving around and was bothering other children and was up and down and all over the place. And it was very frustrating and hard for me to know how to manage that. But what I found with him is that later on, he would often make comments to me about the story. And I realized, you know what? He's making it difficult for me as a teacher in the moment, but he is still engaging with the content. He's still thinking about the story. He's thinking about the songs we sang, about the things we did as a group. So just because he was being what I felt like at the time was difficult, it was still meaningful for him. And so trying to have the big view that, hey, you know what, this week didn't go well, but keep at it, keep doing those repetitive things to make it consistent every time. And the more that you do that, the more that children are going to respond to that. So keep on pressing on. You can do this. Bye.